You see them hanging from the sides of passenger ships all the time. Small orange boats, suspended several stories above the ocean. Most of the voyage, they do absolutely nothing. But if the ship beneath you ever becomes unsafe, one of those boats suddenly gets an almost impossible job. It has to take a packed group of people off a huge moving vessel, lower them safely to the sea, power itself away from danger, and survive the elements, all after sitting unused for months or even years. This is a highly complex, compact survival system. It is engineered for the specific moment when the much larger system around it can no longer protect you. The first problem the system must solve begins before anyone even gets inside. On a large passenger ship, an emergency cannot mean thousands of people running toward whichever lifeboat they can see. Ships therefore rely on muster stations, emergency instructions, and planned routes. These arrangements organize human mass before it ever reaches the survival craft. This wireframe model shows the strict physical limitations of the boat's design. A lifeboat has a fixed capacity. You cannot keep adding people just because there appears to be empty floor space. Every additional occupant adds weight that must remain within what the boat, its launching equipment, and its stability calculations were designed to handle. Managing human panic and mass is a mandatory prerequisite for the machine to function. If the weight distribution fails on the deck, the mechanical system cannot perform its primary job in the water. The interior of an enclosed lifeboat is deliberately cramped. Instead of lounge chairs, you find tightly arranged seating, designed to place a known number of people inside the smallest practical protected space. This layout prepares the occupants for a possibility most passengers never consider: the boat turning completely upside down. If rough water rolls the craft, the solution is not based on everyone somehow climbing to a new floor. As this cross-section shows, the enclosure, the seats, and the restraints are one system. When occupants are held in position, the boat's center of gravity and buoyancy allow it to right itself automatically. But before the lifeboat survives the ocean, it has to survive leaving the ship. This is the most mechanically dangerous part of the entire sequence. The geometry of the launch is unforgiving. The ship may be rolling, and the water is moving independently below. A survival craft hanging from cables can strike the ship if lowered badly, or plummet if released incorrectly. To manage this tension, the release hooks are controlled systems with internal mechanical failsafes. These safeguards are designed to prevent an unintended release, remaining locked until the system detects the hull is fully supported by the water. Escaping the ship is a precision engineering problem, where a single mechanical failure can turn the life-saving machine into the hazard itself. Once the boat reaches the water and separates, a different problem begins: getting away. If the ship is burning or sinking, remaining directly alongside it is a terrible place to wait. Under solace requirements, a fully loaded lifeboat must be able to make at least 6 knots in calm water. It also must carry enough fuel to run at that speed for at least 24 hours. This speed is not for traveling to a distant shore, it is for control. The engine allows the crew to maneuver, avoid drifting, and put safe distance between the survivors and the casualty. However, packing dozens of people into a small, closed space creates its own engineering problem. Humans produce heat and carbon dioxide, and the engine itself requires oxygen to operate. New international standards require a defined ventilation flow for totally enclosed boats. This animation shows how fresh air must be systematically cycled to every person the boat is certified to carry, while the intakes maintain the craft's watertight seal. This is the central paradox of the lifeboat's design. The very enclosure that protects the occupants from the sea creates a deadly internal environment that must be engineered away. Once the boat is away from the ship, one limitation remains that cannot be engineered away: time. Nobody can guarantee precisely when rescue will arrive. International requirements specify an emergency reserve of 3 liters of fresh water and 10,000 kilojoules of food for every person the boat is permitted to accommodate. These are emergency rations designed to buy time. There is an ocean outside, but almost none of it is useful to drink. Every liter and every kilojoule extends the period before a rescue problem becomes a survival problem. But staying alive is only useful if the boat can be located. From kilometers away, an orange boat is a tiny speck on an enormous ocean. The craft, therefore, carries a dedicated system of rocket flares, smoke signals, and mirrors. tools designed to make the boat impossible for the outside world to miss. The lifeboat acts as a bridge between two safe places, the ship you had to leave and the rescue you have not reached yet. This machine must remain ready for its most important day, even though it may sit unused in corrosive salt air for years. The engine, the launching appliance, and the release system are subject to rigorous international standards for inspection and maintenance. Every component must remain serviceable despite constant exposure to the sea. Even practicing with the system is carefully controlled. Requirements for drills are strict because testing an emergency system should not expose the crew to unnecessary danger. Survival depends on an interconnected chain: the muster that organizes the people, the davits that lower them, the hooks that release them, the engine that clears the wreck, the ventilation that provides air, and the rations that buy time. When the enormous vessel around you becomes the thing you have to leave, the orange boat becomes the only provider of shelter, power, and signaling. It is a machine designed to provide the one thing the ship can no longer guarantee: time.